All right, everybody. Nice to have you here. I'm Dr. Zimmermann, primary care doctor turned fasting enthusiast. Nice to be with you here. So, this is the Simple Fasting channel, which is one of the things that I'm exploring as a way to share some of my experience with fasting, my thoughts on this beautiful process that I think can help so many people. And then Fasting Space Live, here we are. This is like a fasting experience, I hope. So most of the channel is about, learning about fasting, but here we can actually be doing this simple practice together while we're learning and discussing it. So that's kind of the big picture, I hope. I hope you're all doing well. I really like the live format, and I'm committed to sticking with this weekly routine. I've really liked it. I've really liked the comments that people have been able to share. Today is a little different. I'm recording this right now. It's Saturday, and I'm trying out a feature where I can record it and then play it live. And I thought about, well, I could just record it and post it as a video, but I really like the ability to interact with people, have people throw, responses and comments real time in the chat. So feel free to do that. But at 8:30 tomorrow, so I'm running a marathon. That's the title that I'm reflecting on today, which is the first time I've ever attempted to do it. So if you're watching this live, I will be approximately 8 miles into a marathon by the time we're starting. So send some positive thoughts out into the universe for me, and throw any questions or thoughts in the comments. Once I'm back home and recuperated a little bit, I'll dive in and answer any questions in the chat or comments. So I'll be happy to still interact with people about this content. Before I dive into my thoughts on, marathon, I wanted to just give you a little update. So I posted on Friday a video for a fasting challenge. So throughout the holidays, I'm going to be focusing on this fasting challenge. And so I want to invite you all, when you're done with the live stream, I would encourage you, go check out my video on the fasting challenge. It's just like a minute and 40 seconds. It's basically like an infomercial, basically, where I'm exploring something, very meaningful to me, which is like, okay, I spend my time trying to help people lose weight. And also one of the things I do, I volunteer at a local food pantry, and so then I'm seeing the other side of it, people who are just hanging on, trying to get enough food to feed their kids and their family, and who are really in a difficult space. And so, I sit and I think, like, how do we merge these worlds together, create win-wins where everyone can benefit? Sometimes, not everyone is in this space, but sometimes, it's difficult to lose weight, and it's difficult to find motivation and commitment. And so in the challenge, I'm challenging people, dedicate yourself to some amount of fasting. Open up that space and save the money that you are not spending on food, and donate that to the challenge. I have a GoFundMe set up. All the money going to go to this 100% volunteer-run organization. Is where I volunteer. It's just one of the coolest organizations that I've found. I think it's really an exceptional place. I feel so good about it, and I've seen it. Sometimes it's hard to support just some charity that is out there. You say, is my money really being used in a good way? This is a place that I personally feel so good about being personally invested in and sharing it. So anyway, that's my little plug for that. Check that out, and consider sharing that with friends and family. If we can spread that around, I think we could create a lot of positive energy, both on something that people can connect to, use it as a way to help power through the holidays, get healthier, and support people who could really use a a hand during this time. I'm just taking a look over here. So I was doing some writing, simple fasting. Maybe I'll share this with you. So I try to think, people say, create a vision statement. What are you really trying to do? Can you just get it down into a couple sentences? This is what I wrote the other day. In the greatest version of what I'm doing, simple fasting provides such a simple, accessible, understandable, and compelling process for weight loss that any individual who wants to can normalize their body weight for free while simultaneously reducing their stress and recognizing their own self-efficacy. They're inspired to use resources freed up by the process to ensure that no person lacks the basic elements of survival and health that support human flourishing. That is the biggest vision that I can come up with. Right now, I don't know. I would say I don't think we're there, but it's something aspirational, something to aim for. And I'm very much all ears to listen. As I'm reading through that, does that strike you in any way? Do you have a thought about how a person might do it? I very much. I want this to be your space. If you're here listening to this, do things like this resonate? Do you have ideas? Oh, I wish it was like this. Or what if you did it this way? I think it's Socrates maybe has a quote, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. I've always resonated with that. It is that actually is one of the reasons why it's so hard for me to actually start doing something like this. This is out of character to be speaking so much. But let me know your thoughts. Most of everything I've ever done with simple fasting has just come about actually from ideas from other people. They say, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? It was my wonderful medical assistant at UW that actually kicked it all off. So why don't you put all this stuff on a website? It's like I never even had the idea. So, all right, there's some thoughts on that. So weight loss is a marathon, not a sprint. I have a couple different thoughts on this that I thought I'd share today. So running an actual marathon. So what I mean by this title is not really that it's actually a marathon. I want to use it as like a metaphor. And the reason for that is because, okay, I think I saw a survey once that said, people, especially, January, people dial in, try to lose weight. Most people, I think the data was something like 70%. Most people who embark on a weight loss plan embark on an exercise program. And that's, we see that the gyms fill up in January. And I'm not opposed in any way to people exercising. Obviously, I'm a huge exerciser. I'm running a marathon. Okay, I'm totally committed to exercise as an incredible path to health and wellness. But I think the reality is that relatively few of the people who embark on a weight loss process in January through an exercise program, it's some small percentage, way less a year later than they did before they started it. And that's just the unfortunate reality of the situation. I spent a number of years, after I got out of my medical training, before I really knew about fasting, try to help people lose weight. I give people every piece of good advice that I was instructed to give people. You got to exercise, portion control, mini meals, count the calories, the whole game. And I almost never saw people, change their life by any of this advice. Well, never, actually. Here's my own personal experience briefly. So my medical training, my residency, for all of its good points, probably the most unhealthy time in my life. I mean, no question. Terrible sleep, chronically tired. I was so worn out. I stopped exercising completely stressed out. It'd be the middle of the night. Someone horrifically died, and I would go down in the hospital basement and I would like binge eat ice cream, until the next, situation arose. I have to go sprint off and run a code. And, so I put on a lot of weight during that time. And I'm a pretty lean person. So the average person, maybe wouldn't notice, but, 35, 40 pounds. And I got out of my medical training and I said, I've got to turn this around. I'm supposed to be a healthy person. I'm trying to, help people be healthy. And so that's where I turned. I started, running, huge running. And the thing that was crazy, I was trying to take every piece of advice I knew. I was running like 60 some miles a week and, eating as healthy as I could, certainly no fasting. I was eating a lot when I was running. It's hard. I hardly lost much weight. I was like, I was like 2 years into that. I was like, this is radical. Like I'm exercising on a level that has got to be like, very few people, they're trying to lose weight are running, 60 miles a week. And so that was one of the first things that started to open my eyes to this advice. I was like, if me, who is like young, relatively healthy, basically fanatical level exercising, like, and I'm eating salads, stuff. I'm like, if this is not working, like why? Like, why is it not working? And so that is what has started some of the thinking about, opening my mind to fasting or other sorts of processes. So I was like, there's got to be some way to do it. So I'm not telling people to go run a marathon. In fact, by this title, Weight Loss is a Marathon, Not a Sprint, is like, okay, people, we're gearing up for January. I really want to make a push, help people gear up to make 2025 their most incredible, health year ever. Transformational health is possible, especially if you're trying to lose weight, burn off blood sugar, get type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes in the dustbin of your history. Okay, fasting is something that has the ability to do that. Very few things can do that. And so I want to help people see that. And say, could a marathon do it? Someone who's not a marathon runner. If you completely overhaul your life and, start training all the way up and running a marathon, could you get healthier doing that? Of course, you could if you don't hurt yourself. And could that help your blood sugar? Could that transform things? Absolutely it could. But what I want to say is like, okay, but fasting can do it and is a lot of work. This is what I'm experiencing. You want to run a marathon. You want to do something like this. What an incredible amount of work. I could only begin to tell you how much work I have put into training over the last, months and months and months of running. Huge amount of work. Fasting is something completely different. Fasting, I would say, is not work. Like, what is fasting? This is what I think about a lot. Fasting is nothing. Fasting is openness. Fasting is empty space. If fasting is work, then I say it's mental work, right? It's a state of mind. It's a thought process. But when I describe it, I say, okay, someone is burned out. I've talked to so many people burned out exercise, and they're just stressed by it. They're trying to get to the gym. They're trying to do it. They don't even want to, but they know they need to. And the burden, and I try to tell people, like, let fasting do the work, right? Like, grab a tea, grab a coffee, just sit. Like, people don't realize, okay, what is happening? If you sit and do nothing, okay, what is happening? All right, it's not nothing that's happening in the body. Like, just think about everything that's happening. Heart is just beating. Heart is this giant muscle, and it is just working. That takes energy, right? Heart is always going. Brain, like 20% of our metabolic demand at any point is just keeping the lights on, in our consciousness. Breathing in and out, there's a muscle, a diaphragm, contract and relax, contract and relax. All this stuff takes energy, to go in. It's 98 degrees in here, it's 70 degrees out here. It's like a furnace, it's always running. So all these things take energy. And so even I'm sitting in this space, I'm drinking a coffee. The systems are running, they're burning up the energy. Open up that space. Let the fasting do the work. You don't have to run a marathon. But the analogy that I'm going for is that, okay, marathon is a long process. It's not running a 100-yard dash. It's not starting in January and going so intense that by 100 yards you can barely breathe. And then you got to stop and take a break, right? So I'm not by any means, by the way, any kind of expert marathon runner. I am, in my best vision, going to accomplish this very slowly. I've got a GPS watch. We're going to pace it out. I'm going to be jogging along. You go on YouTube and you watch videos on like how people fail running a marathon. They start out too fast. They go at a pace that they cannot maintain. It's not sustainable. They burn out and then they drop out, somewhere mile 12 by 18, It's like most running piece of advice. Start out much slower than you expect. And you'll be feeling so good. You'll feel like, oh, I can go much faster. I can do it. And you could at the beginning. But if you go out too fast, you burn up your energy too quick, okay, by the end you're not going to make it. So these are the types of things I want you to think about. If you're setting yourself up for an incredible year, 2025, don't go out in a 100-yard dash. Don't even go out on a mile run. Don't even go out on a half marathon run. You don't want to burn out, by June, right? You want to create a process for yourself that is sustainable. If the whole year is a marathon, right? January is not the marathon. January is where you can burn yourself out like a sprint. I want you to create a frame of mind where you see the whole year, you see what is happening in your life, map it out. This is what you do in the marathon. You map it out. You know where you're going. You know what pace you're going to be running. Decrease the intensity so that it becomes sustainable. You accomplish so much more. What is the quote? I saw something the other day. I probably should write it down. It was like a Navy SEAL quote or something. It was like, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. It's something like that. It's like this, psychology. You've got to go slow to go fast. I think that's true for weight loss. Yeah. Marathon takes a long time. It doesn't happen quickly. Weight loss, in general, takes a long time. If you want it to be sustainable, most of the time, it takes a long time. But we have a lot of space, We have the time. You say, in other videos I've said, someone has a lot of weight to lose, make a 2-year plan, That's honestly what is practical. Now, people don't like to hear that. They want a 2-month plan. But a lot of people out there selling people on 2-month plans, and, I've had people upset, in my weight clinic when I explain what I try to help people do. I was like, I want you to get on a 2-year plan, and I want to map it out. And, some people have been, be frustrated. I didn't come here for a 2-year plan. And they're like, I saw an ad for these supplements. I saw an ad for this program. And, I've had people definitely where I say, look, everybody's on their own path. I never tell anyone they have to do anything. Nobody has to do, anything. Go try out any other plan you want. And if it works for you, of course, I don't care. I was like, if this person says, I'm just going to overhaul my diet. I'm never going to fast. Beautiful. If it works for you, I love it. This person says, I never want to do that. I'm just going to exercise my way there. If it works, perfect. It can work. Absolutely. For the right person in the right way. But if you do these things, it's not working, circle back, circle back to simple fasting, practice, and we'll really dial in for the long term. Someone told me once, I don't want to commit to some 2-year thing. It's so far away. Well, look, it's going to be 2 years from now at some point, you know? So like either you can have worked on a sustainable process, you know, for 2 years, or you could not have. So it's kind of the two options. So, but in my view, I love 2 years as a point because it takes the pressure off, you know? It really takes the pressure off. You don't hardly have to accomplish anything by 2 months from now. If you can have any momentum going by 2 months from now, and you say, hey, I'm on the right track, you know? And if you're not stressed by that, that's like starting the marathon out easy. Like, we're just rolling along. We're having a jog. Everything's okay. We're not burning out. This is how you really get in a habit. I was talking with a client the other day, and they said they were talking about so many bad habits that they have to change. They can only take baby steps, you know, forward. Baby steps great, in my opinion. Baby steps great. Habits are things, okay, they're resistance on the way up, you know, as we're trying to accomplish something. We've got to break through those habits. Very hard to change. Okay, but they become support, and the habits support us once we get them in the right spot. So you start building healthy habits slowly, sustainably. They compound and they support you over time. Absolutely. Take the pressure off, make things as easy as possible. That's one side, you know. Then the other thing, okay, running a marathon, also, it's very hard. People do hard things. I want to inspire people to do, you know, challenging and difficult things, really accomplish something, you know. That is what I want. So I hope nobody has to go out and run a marathon, right? I don't advise anyone to do it if it's not your thing. But I do hope people feel encouraged by saying, oh, look, man, here's somebody, they're going after it. Maybe I can make this change in my life. You know, what is the change? As I'm talking about, okay, make a change. What comes in your mind? Does something come in there where it's like, oh, you know, I think I need to do this. Like, I need to commit to just doing this simple thing. Maybe it's just opening up another couple hours of space in your day, food-free. Grab a pleasant beverage of choice, calorie-free, and just give your body the space to use the energy that is already within it. It's there waiting to be released. Let the body fat, let the stored blood sugar, let it fulfill its natural purpose. It's there to power you. And you give the body that space. And my experience, both personally and with other people, is that beautiful things, healthy things can happen. All right, those are my reflections of the day. So nice to have you here. Leave any comments or feedback. Check out the Fasting Challenge video. Give me feedback on that. And I will look forward to seeing you back with Fasting Space Live next week.